Hello and welcome. Today we're talking about a family horror movie that, I'm not gonna lie, is pretty much a perfect film. Halloween, a haunted house, and an unhealthy obsession with your 70-year-old neighbor? We can all relate. Yes, of course, we are talking about Monster House. This film came out in July of 2006, so I was 9 years old, which means this was an aspirational movie for me. Unlike the sheer terror I felt when watching Jurassic Park or How the Grinch Stole Christmas for the first time, this movie created an excitement and a thrill for the horror genre. I saw myself as one of these kids with a wildly overactive imagination that adults just didn't take seriously, which I will prove to you with a Monster House parody video I made when I was a child, but that comes later. First, we dive into a crisp autumn afternoon. The sun is shining, the leaves are falling. It's a perfect day in suburban paradise. Or is it? We follow a little girl about 5 years old riding her tricycle down the street and singing to herself. She passes well-manicured lawn after well-manicured lawn, and the camera follows her from a close, low angle, almost like you're running alongside her, until she abruptly stops and screams. The camera keeps panning and we hear nothing from her, and you're thinking to yourself, Jesus fucking Christ, did they just kill this little girl in the opening scene? Oh my god, I thought this was a kid's movie, but no. Her trike is simply stuck on the lawn of, you guessed it, the spookiest house on the block. Fuck it, I'll say it. It might even be the spookiest house in the entire region. The door of the house creaks, groans, and jerks open to reveal an old man who looks as much like an anglerfish as he does RFK Jr. He screams at the little girl to get off his lawn unless she wants to get eaten alive, and he steals her trike and brings it inside with him. Before he closes the door, he casts a scathing glare over his shoulder, which takes us across the street into an open window and through a telescope to our protagonist, a 12-year-old boy named DJ. DJ is misunderstood. He may be 12 years old, but he's not a kid anymore. Between his overbearing parents, his apathetic babysitter, and his best friend Chowder, who wears a cape around his neck and still goes trick-or-treating, lame. It seems like no one understands him, which might explain why he is so obsessed with his elderly neighbor. He regularly watches him through his telescope, snaps photos of him, and records his daily movements. Just normal 8th grade guy stuff. When Chowder's brand new basketball rolls into Old Man Nevercracker's lawn, it's DJ's turn to be faced with his wrath. In a fit of rage and unprecedented old man strength, he picks DJ up over his head and screams at him until he's blue in the face. Literally. He's so upset that he seemingly has a heart attack and drops dead on the spot. This leaves DJ in a state of understandable moral panic as he believes he is responsible for the death of his curmudgeonly old neighbor. Later that night, DJ is convinced that Nevercracker is back from the dead and sending him signals through the house, so he enlists Chowder's help to return to the scene of the crime. Chowder rings the doorbell and they realize, holy shit, this house is like really creaky, like they have not been taking care of this thing. We're gonna need to get OSHA out here. And oh yeah, it's also alive. Not only that, but it also seems aware. They run home in terror, but make the mistake of looking back over their shoulders where the house flashes a menacing glower at them. Now we meet Jenny. She is an absolute bad bitch, hustler, real. She is an adorable little redhead who goes to a prestigious prep school and runs a woman-owned business. DJ and Chowder both immediately fall in love with her. When she makes the miscalculation of trying to take her little business to Nevercracker's house, they are blessed with every man's fantasy, which is, hello, a damsel in distress, a woman in danger, a woman in need. And who better to save her than two middle school boys who have been up all night and haven't even left their room once, not even go to the bathroom.
Don't drink that.
Once Jenny steps foot on the lawn of the, let's just call it what it is, Monster House, pulls out all the stops to try to dry swallow this little know-it-all. The boys manage to save her just before she's deposited into the house's gaping maw, and they are immediately bonded over their shared trauma. Think Harry Potter and the three-headed dog scene. They head back across the street to DJ's house to do some recon, and after the house eats a dog, they decide it's time to get serious. They need to call the police, but surprising no one except your second cousin with a Blue Lives Matter sticker on the back of his F-150, the police are no help at all. You guys know how adults can be, they just don't get it. So, they enlist the help of their local mega nerd mage who tells them that the house is probably haunted by a human soul, which of course they presume is Nevercracker. The only way to free the soul is to stab the haunted being through the heart. Sounds easy enough, except when the haunted being is a 2,700 square foot rundown Victorian style abode. They have no other choice. They have to go into the house to destroy the heart. DJ convinces Chowder to steal about 20 bottles of cough medicine from his dad's pharmacy, and they fill their vacuum cleaner disguised as a trick-or-treater with the contraband. The plan is simple. The house thinks the decoy is a child. The house swallows the child. The house gets super sleepy from all the cold medicine, and that's when they seize their opportunity to run inside and destroy the heart. Seems simple enough, right? Wrong. Everything is going perfectly according to plan until the freaking feds show up. They decide this time the kids have gone too far and they're taking them to jail. The big house, the clink. Everyone knows a night in the Who Scout can have a profound effect on the mind of a young boy. Just as the officers are about to take the kids away, they hear some sinister sounds coming from the house. They choose to investigate by foolishly tromping through the yard, and the house rules it's time to take the kid gloves off and devours the two officers. But the house doesn't stop at the gobbling up of the officers. It's ready to deal with this pesky trio once and for all. We finally get a glimpse into the house, and oh my god, it's no wonder this man went crazy. No light fixtures, no lounging chaise, not even a charming oil paint rendering of dogs playing poker. It's like a funeral home. With 2 layers of jagged gnashing teeth, a garbage disposal for a throat, and an ominous glowing green light coming from its upper GI tract, this house is the total package. Hi, I'm Wendy Torrance, and I'm determined to get you into a house that'll make you scream. With the light. Now if you'll follow me to the cellar floor, we have a spacious enclosure that can fit at least 7 of the neighborhood children. 9 if they're emaciated. Now that they've infiltrated the house, they can set about the task of destroying the heart. Whatever that is in a house. Chowder identifies what he believes to be the heart, so they brandish their squirt guns and begin firing with all they've got. The floor of the house churns open beneath them, once again exposing its undulating throat while a whirlpool of liquid bubbles up from within. The house dramatically gargles and spits, revealing that this isn't the heart. It is, in fact, the uvula.
So it's a girl house.
They crash through the floor into Nevercracker's graveyard of toys that he spent decades confiscating from the neighborhood children. Truly a mausoleum of his torment. Within the graveyard, they find none other than the body of Nevercracker's wife, Constance, wholly buried in cement. Before they can figure out what any of this means, they must contend with the still alert house, which, through a series of saw-like horror contraptions, attempts to ensnare and presumably digest them. As a last-ditch effort, Jenny remembers the uvula and uses it to force the house to throw them up. Oh man, this brings back memories. Not to brag, but I got pretty familiar with the uvula myself back in my college days. The trio falls apart into chaos. Just as DJ is about to storm off, he is hit by an ambulance containing the previously assumed dead Nevercracker. Once Nevercracker returns, very much alive, they find out what he's been hiding. With his rail-thin frame, missing teeth, and boarded-up windows, you might be thinking a methamphetamine addiction, but no. A heart-wrenching flashback chronicles his love affair with his wife, Constance. A woman deemed a circus freak and put on display for mockery due to her size. He rescues her from her terrible situation, and they begin building a life together. However, her history with children tormenting her causes her to have a downright hatred of them. Her rage leads her to slip and fall into the cement being poured into the foundation of their house, causing her to permanently become a fixture of the flooring. We realize the spirit haunting the house was, of course, not Nevercracker, but his wife Constance from the beginning. He dedicated his life to protecting children from her anguished spirit trapped in the house. Halloween became the bane of his existence, as every year hordes of children would approach his house, evoking the wrath of his undead wife. After learning the shocking truth, DJ convinces Nevercracker to finally let Constance go, but she does not agree. She uproots from the lawn and becomes sort of a mobile haunted house. Kind of like Halloween Horror Nights if you replaced all of the vampires and ghouls with spooky crown molding and eerie bay windows. She hunts the kids around the neighborhood until Nevercracker, that crazy old bastard, pulls a stick of dynamite out of his sling. He almost manages to toss it down her gullet before she grabs him in her splintery clutches. All hope is almost lost until Chowder gets his hands on an excavator. He claws the house down, gruesomely ripping through the wood siding into an empty construction pit and seemingly destroys it. They barely have time to celebrate their victory before it comes back in an even more perverse manner. DJ and Jenny climb onto the scaffolding of a crane and, using Chowder as bait and with a little faith, trust, and pixie dust, they manage to drop the dynamite into the gaping maw of the house, causing it to erupt into flames like my large intestine after eating halal guys. We get this touching scene of Nevercracker finally reuniting with and saying goodbye to his deceased wife before he breaks down in tears of joy and thanks the children for freeing him from his 45-year-long curse. They spend the rest of the night redistributing stolen toys to the neighborhood kids, and Chowder and DJ decide maybe they're not too old to go trick-or-treating one last time. End credits. Okay, let's talk about what they did right. First, This movie absolutely had to be animated. Just like Spirited Away and Avatar: The Last Airbender, the animation is essential to the film's whimsy and charm and allows them to do the impossible. Without a budget like Harry Potter, I think it's really difficult to get this kind of performance out of a movie starring children without it being childish or cheesy like Halloween Town or Avatar: The Last Airbender. Initially, my only gripe with this movie was not the animation style exactly, because although I wouldn't say that it's timeless, it is unique and original. I think it fits the story really well, kind of creepy and unpolished. No, my gripe is with the way that they move. It seems a little bit jerky and awkward, but what I found is that this movie was actually created using motion capture. The unusual movements are a symptom of their ambitious use of early technology and an attempt to make the movie even more immersive. In fact, they used this technology to set up more than 200 cameras that allowed them to film scenes all the way through, similar to live theater. This is how they created some of the really dynamic camera work, like the shot I mentioned in the beginning where they followed the little girl riding her bike, or this awesome scene that I didn't show of them entering the game zone to talk to Skull. The first 5 seconds of this movie are completely perfect. The quick switch from the grand crescendoing brass instrumentals in the title card into the reverberating toll of the bell and the veiny orange leaf plastered across the screen sends a literal chill down my spine. Oh, and the M. Night Shyamalan twist when we find out that Constance is the one haunting the house, not Nevercracker. It puts so many of the earlier scenes into perspective. When we first see the house, they pan across the lawn, exposing this grid of pipes just below the surface. First, we think these are foundational, but after the reveal, we realize that this is actually the house's root system. It's a way for the house to interact with the entirety of its lawn. It puts Nevercracker's toy graveyard into a whole new perspective. This isn't where toys go to die. This is where Nevercracker pays homage to his deceased wife. Instead of leaving flowers on her grave, he leaves a sea of tributes to the work he does every day to keep her happy and to honor her legacy. And can we talk about the cast for a minute? In typical incredible animated movie fashion, the cast is absolutely stacked. We have Steve Buscemi as Nevercracker, Mitchell Musso as DJ, Jon Heder as their magical nerd mage, aka Skull, Nick Cannon and Kevin James play the 2 cops, and Fred Willard is DJ's dad, and the list goes on. This is how you know an animated movie is going to be incredible, when you have legends like Kathleen Turner and Catherine O'Hara playing even minor roles. You know the movie is going to be ridiculously good for no reason. Finally, I want to talk about the compelling character arcs. We see Nevercracker transform from a bitter old man who's trapped in the past to someone who lets go and appreciates the present. We see Chowder transform from a sniveling coward to the kind of person who looks out for his friends no matter what.
Hey guys! Look who just won! It's me! The screw-up!
I want to talk about this line for a second too. Calling yourself a screw-up is a learned behavior, and when we place that behavior within the context of an earlier scene of Chowder's dad berating him on the phone, it really puts his cowardice into perspective. It's hard to flourish in an environment when you're treated like a screw-up. But when he has the opportunity, when he's trusted with the opportunity to prove himself, he's able to rise to the occasion. We have DJ who learns to appreciate the people who care about him and that there's no rush to grow up so fast. And we have Jenny who learns that sometimes it's okay to hang out with nerds. Okay guys, that's it. We did it. Now you guys know my dark secret. I love Monster House. I'm not ashamed to say it. I saw it in theaters 3 times. And if you stuck around this long, here's your reward.